Members, please clear the well, clear the aisles. Gentleman from Wisconsin.
Mr. Chairman, at this time I'd like to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from California, the distinguished Majority Whip, Mr. McCarthy.
House will be in order. Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to first by thanking the chairman of the Budget Committee, Mr. Ryan, and the entire budget staff and members on the House side.
Correct. Conversations, please cease. Clear the aisles. Bring your discussions to the cloakrooms. Shh. The gentleman from California.
I'd also like to thank the Democrats members on the Budget Committee as well. What we are taking up today is the point of where this country goes. Because this debate has taken on for quite some time, there's probably not one person in America that has not watched the news and watched the clock of our debt of $14 trillion. I want you all to imagine for one moment, just imagine for one moment, what the future of this country would hold in the dreams if that clock was zero. What could we invest in? What could we build, and what would our children become? But because that clock does not say zero and that clock continues to climb in the wrong direction, that's why we're here today. But it is a good day, because today is the day that we turn that clock back around. We have a plan and a path to prosperity that will create jobs. Even those on the outside that looked at it said there'll be more than 1 million jobs. A plan that will make us energy independent, but also a plan that does something the rest of America had to do as well, tighten our belts. So today when we come and have to put our card in the voting card, I want you to think of one thing. Today could be the day that we create the great America comeback. Or it could be the day that America goes in the long fade into history. But the floor is made up of a microcosm of America, and the entire America knows that we have to control this situation we're in. So today, a yes vote is for jobs, for energy independence, and a new path to prosperity. And I yield back.
The gentleman. The chair notes a disturbance in the gallery which is in contravention of the laws and rules of the House. The Sergeant-at-Arms will remove those persons responsible for the disturbance and restore order to the gallery. House will be in order. The House will be in order. Recognizes the gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are turning back the clock. We're turning back the clock on progress, and we're turning back the clock on...
The chair notes a disturbance in the gallery in contravention of the laws and rules of the House. The Sergeant-at-Arms will restore order in the gallery and remove persons responsible for the disturbance and restore order. The gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
House will be in order. The committee will be in order. Gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What the Republican budget does is turn back the clock on a fair deal for the American people. Every person in this body today loves this great nation of ours and believes it's a special place We have to maintain the dynamism and exceptionalism of this country. We see different paths and make different choices to accomplish that goal.
The chair notes a disturbance in the gallery in contravention with the law and rules of the House. The Sergeant-at-Arms will remove those persons responsible for the disturbance and restore order to the gallery.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Illinois, state his point of order.
Mr. Speaker, my question is about the clarification of the rules. The rules also, for our visiting guests, allow the Sergeant-at-Arms to clear the chamber if necessary. Is that correct, Mr. Speaker?
It is within the authority of the chair to clear the gallery.
I thank the Speaker. I would just encourage those to continue the civil conversation that we're having about a very difficult conversation in our country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I... Mr. President.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Notes a disturbance in the gallery in contravention with the laws and rules of the House. The Sergeant-at-Arms will remove those persons responsible for disturbance and restore order, and would remind all those that are listening that the chair has the authority to clear the gallery. The gentleman from Maryland.
Mr. Chairman, may I inquire as to how much time remains? Now, very seriously, Mr. Chairman, if I would ask...
The gentleman from Maryland has 9.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We all agree we have to act now to put in place a plan to reduce our deficits.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
The chair notes a disturbance in the gallery in contravention of the laws and rules of the House. The Sergeant-at-Arms will remove those persons responsible for the disturbance and restore order in the gallery. Okay. Committee will be in order. Committee will be in order. The committee will be in order. Will be in order. The gentleman from Maryland may proceed.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to begin my remarks from the beginning and set the
Is there
clock.
objection? Seeing none, the gentleman may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank my colleagues. As I said, nobody doubts that every person in this chamber loves this country and wants to do the right thing.
Okay.
Although I'm beginning to have...
The chair notes a disturbance in the gallery in contravention of the laws and rules of the House. The Sergeant-at-Arms will remove those persons responsible for the disturbance and restore order to the gallery. Be in order.
A bit of a pause in the action in the U.S. House as there have been numerous disturbances in the gallery. The audience watching the proceedings in the U.S. House, they're in the midst of a final bit of debate on fiscal year 2012 spending, the Republican proposal about to be voted on, but the Speaker, as you've seen, has had to gavel order, and we understand a number of people in the gallery have been removed by Capitol Police.
Committee will come to order. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm tempted to reserve my time and yield it back to the other.
The chair notes a disturbance in the gallery in contravention of the laws and rules of the House. The Sergeant-at-Arms will remove those persons responsible for the disturbance and restore order to the gallery.
That's right. No,
Chair advises, the chair makes this announcement for purposes of possible prosecution. The gentleman from Maryland may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I said, I was tempted to reserve my time and allow my colleague to proceed, but as I understand that the chamber is now quiet, let me begin where I left off and say that all of us agree, everybody in this chamber agrees, we need to put in place a plan to reduce our deficit in a predictable, steady manner. The question throughout this debate has been not whether, but how we do that. And as the Bipartisan Fiscal Commission has indicated, any responsible effort requires a balanced approach. And the Republican plan simply fails on that score. And that's what the co-chairs of the Bipartisan Fiscal Commission said. They said it, quote, falls short of the balanced, comprehensive approach needed for a responsible plan. And when you peel off the layers, what you find is the Republican plan is not bold. It's just the same old, tired formula we've seen before of providing big tax breaks to the very wealthy and powerful special interests at the expense of the rest of America, except this time it's dressed up with a lot of sweet-sounding talk of reform. But at the end, it's the same old ideological agenda, except this time on steroids. To govern is to choose. Each of us is sent here to make difficult choices. And the choices that are made in the Republican plan, we believe, are wrong for America. We do not believe it's courageous to protect tax giveaways to big oil companies and other special interests when we're slashing investments in our kids' education, scientific research, and critical investments in the future. We don't think it's bold to provide another tax break to millionaires while ending the Medicare guarantee for seniors and sticking seniors with the bill for ever-rising health care costs. We do not believe it's visionary to reward corporations that ship American jobs rather than American products overseas while we're terminating affordable health care for tens of millions of Americans right here at home. And we don't think it's brave to give governors a blank check of federal taxpayer dollars and then a license to cut support for seniors in nursing homes, individuals with disabilities, and poor kids. And we don't think it's fair to raise taxes on middle-income Americans to pay for additional tax breaks for the folks at the very top. Yet those are the choices that are made in the Republican budget. Where is the shared sacrifice? We have American men and women putting their lives on the line in Iraq, in Afghanistan, while others hide their income in the Cayman Islands and Switzerland and refuse to pay their fair share to support our national efforts. And that is why the Bipartisan Commission, among other reasons, said that the Republican plan is just not balanced. It's not. Let's say no to the Republican plan. Let's say yes to finding a balanced way to reduce our deficits in a way that protects the values and priorities of the American people and in a way that gets our economy moving and America back to work. With that, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves his time. The gentleman from Wisconsin.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to yield 2 minutes to the distinguished chairman of the House Republican Conference, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Henschling.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, earlier this week, USA Today reported that we have the fewest participants in our workforce than at any time in 30 years. And my Democratic colleagues announced their plan to increase taxes $1.5 trillion on our economy, much of it on our small businesses. The Congressional Budget Office has announced that Medicare is going broke in 2020, and my Democratic colleagues announced their plan to double down on the rationing of health care for our seniors. The Congressional Budget Office.
The chair notes a disturbance in the gallery in contravention of the law and rules of the House. The Sergeant at Arms will remove those persons responsible for the disturbance and restore order to the gallery. The gentleman may proceed.
Mr. Chairman, the Congressional Budget Office has announced that Social Security will go broke in 2037. Yet my Democratic colleagues have announced this is not a problem. We're ready to implement the 22% benefit cut that's already in our statute. Survey after survey show that our fellow citizens believe that their children will be worse off than they are, and yet my Democrat colleagues announced their plan to add $9.1 trillion to the national debt. Mr. Chairman, it's time to quit spending money we don't have. It's time to quit borrowing 42 cents on the dollar, much of it from the Chinese, and then send the bill to our children and grandchildren. The Republican budget will help us create jobs with fundamental tax reform in preventing these tax increases. It will save our social safety net programs, programs that have been of a great comfort to my parents and grandparents before our eyes are morphing into cruel Ponzi schemes for my third-grade daughter and my first-grade son. And, Mr. Chairman, the Republican budget will put us on the path to pay off the national debt. Mr. Chairman, I heard from one of my constituents recently. He said, "I've never felt so embarrassed and ashamed of anything I've done in my life as I do about leaving this mess in the laps of Tyler and Caitlin, my precious grandkids. I've written them both a heartfelt apology for them to read when they get old enough to understand what I allowed our country's governing authority to do to them." Mr. Chairman, I've got a message for Mr. Calhoun. Put that letter away. House Republicans are going to stand for Tyler and Caitlin. We're going to put America back to work. We're going to save the social safety net and preserve the American dream for ourselves and our posterity. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's hard to see how someone would define saving the social safety net by ending the Medicare guarantee for seniors, by slashing Medicaid by over $750 billion, a program that disproportionately helps seniors in nursing homes and disabled individuals. It's really hard to understand how that is preserving the social safety net. It reminds me of that strange statement we once heard that you have to destroy the village in order to save it. Now let's understand what happens under this budget to Medicare. This budget ends the Medicare guarantee for seniors. It doesn't reform Medicare, it deforms and dismantles it because it forces seniors off of the Medicare program into the private insurance market. And it does nothing as it dumps the seniors into the private insurance market to control the rate of increase in health care costs, and instead it transfers to the senior all those risks and all those costs. Seniors will pay a lot more, while the insurance companies will get all their Medicare payroll taxes. They'll get a bonanza out of this thing, but seniors will be left holding the bag. If your voucher amount, call it whatever you want, is not sufficient to pay for the increased cost, you eat it. And we saw earlier the fact that by the year 2022, seniors will have to pay more than $6,000 above what they would have had to pay under the regular Medicare program. If your doctor's not on a private plan that you can afford, tough luck. This is rationing health care by income, nothing more. And I want to say something just to clear the record one more time. We keep hearing that they're offering seniors exactly what members of Congress get. It simply is not true. What members of Congress get is what's called a fair share deal. I encourage my colleagues on all sides of the aisle just to look at the Federal Employees Benefit Plan. And you look in the Office of Personnel and it says this formula is known as the fair share formula because it will maintain a consistent level of government contributions as a percentage of program costs regardless of what plan the enrollees elect. And it says that the government contribution equals the lesser of 72% of the amounts OPM determines are program-wide, or 75%. The point is, members of Congress get a fair share formula. The Republican budget does not give a fair share formula to seniors on Medicare. It just doesn't. In fact, the way it saves money is to give them an unfair deal. It unconnects the support we give to seniors from rising health care costs. That's why seniors will end up paying so much more and more and more, because you make the savings. Health care costs are going up like this, and the support, if you want to call it support, it's really not, coming from the Medicare program or the federal government, is going like this. That's why the seniors are having to make all those, eat those additional costs. That is what the Republican budget does. At the same time, they do provide additional tax breaks for the very folks, the folks at the very top. And if you want to get rid of some of the junk in the tax code, you can support the Democratic plan, because we got rid of subsidies for the oil companies. We got rid of those perverse tax incentives to reward corporations that are shipping American jobs instead of American products overseas. So you want to start with tax reform, vote for the Democratic plan. Those are the choices we made, not ending the Medicare guarantee.
Of his time. Gentleman from Wisconsin.
Mr. Chairman, at this time I'd like to yield 1 minute to the distinguished majority leader, Mr. Cantor.
Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the chairman, and I want to thank the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Ryan, for his outstanding leadership and all the hard work he has shown in leading this effort to put together a budget for this House. I also want to commend the hard work of his members and the committee for bringing this forward. Mr. Chairman, the federal government is broke. We borrow nearly 40 cents of every dollar we spend. Our debt is more than $14 trillion and is averaging yearly the trillion-dollar deficits. We simply cannot afford to keep spending money we don't have, and we must bring down the debt. Now, for years, this House, including legislators on both sides of the aisle, has kicked the can down the road. Americans were led to believe that we could spend hundreds of billions of dollars that we don't have and that there'd be no consequences. And when it came to fostering an environment where American business could compete in a global economy, we became complacent. This must stop. It's time to be honest with the American people. Mr. Chairman, we stand at a crossroads. Before us lies two divergent paths. One defined by crushing debt, slow growth and diminished opportunity, and one defined by achievement, innovation, and American leadership. Mr. Chairman, the House is not in order.
The gentleman is correct. The committee is not in order. Conversations be suspended. Gentleman may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. By demonstrating courage and directly confronting our challenge at this critical moment, we can fulfill the promise of America and pass on to our children a nation that offers everyone a fair shot at earning their success. The House Republican budget is an honest, fact-based proposal that details our vision for managing down our debt and growing our way back to prosperity. First, we will stop spending money that we don't have. This budget cuts non-security discretionary spending to below 2008 levels and freezes it for 5 years. Overall, we reached $6.2 trillion in savings against the President's budget. Second, we'll lead where the President has failed by finally addressing our insolvent entitlement programs. We know that these programs are the biggest drivers of our debt, and the Congressional Budget Office acknowledges that if we don't take action, these important safety net programs will go broke. We cannot afford to ignore this oncoming fiscal train wreck any longer. While it may be seen by some as politically risky, we Republicans are willing to lead because, to be frank, complacency is not an option. To be clear, our plan will not touch benefits for today's seniors and those nearing retirement. For those of us 54 and below, it calls for reforms that will restructure Medicare and Medicaid to ensure that these safety nets will still be there for those who need it, not for those who don't. Unlike the lofty outline the President gave in his speech this week, our budget is not a political document. We do not dream up imaginary savings and dodge specifics in an effort to lull people into the belief that they can actually get things for nothing. Our budget is a concrete plan for getting our fiscal house in order, and we do not resort to tax increases on the very small businesses and job creators we need to put America back to work. Bringing down the debt sends a message to American families. It sends a message to businessmen and women, to entrepreneurs and to investors. It gives them the confidence that they won't face a future plagued by inflation, higher taxes, and higher interest rates. We understand that cutting spending alone is not enough. That's why our budget calls for pro-growth policies to get our economy growing and get people back to work. Families and small business people are struggling, and today, tax day, millions of them will send their hard-earned money to Uncle Sam. The last thing we should be asking them to do is to send yet again more. Instead, our budget calls for a more competitive tax system that will encourage the economy to grow, create jobs, and spur investment in the private sector. We call for the end of crony capitalism that allows privileged industries to gain competitive advantage in our tax code. And we call for a more simple system that lowers rates for all, but makes sure everyone pays their fair share. Mr. Chairman, with this budget, House Republicans are changing the culture in Washington from one of spending to one of savings. Finally, Mr. Chairman, America will see that it can get its fiscal house in order after years of mismanagement. We are finally doing what families and small business people have been doing for years, tightening the belt and learning how to do more with less. Again, Mr. Chairman, I thank Chairman Ryan and his committee for their outstanding leadership, and I urge my colleagues to support this resolution. Yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Maryland.
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves his time. The gentleman from Wisconsin.
May I inquire the gentleman from Maryland, he has just himself as one final speaker?
No, we have another speaker.
One more speaker?
Yeah.
Okay. At this time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to yield 1 minute to the
Let me
distinguished...
be clear. We have another
One
speaker
more,
in
just
addition
one more
to
speaker.
myself.
Oh. Well, why don't you take one then? Or, well,
How many more?
we have the right to close,
That's right. But
and we have just 2 more speakers on our side.
That's right. So
How many do you have?
We have 2 more.
All right. You'll do two together then.
Yes.
Okay. At this time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to yield 1 minute to the Speaker of the House, Mr. Boehner.
Speaker is recognized.
I'm glad we got that resolved. The American people understand that we can't continue to spend money that we don't have. Our national debt has now surpassed $14.2 trillion. It's on a track to eclipse the entire size of our economy. And this massive debt that we're incurring hurts private sector job creation, eroding confidence, spreading uncertainty amongst employers, big and small, discouraging private investment in our economy that is sorely needed in order for us to create jobs. This debt is also a moral threat to our country. In my opinion, it is immoral to rob our children and grandchildren's future and leave them beholden to countries around the world who buy our debt. We have a moral obligation to speak the truth and to do something about it. Yesterday, we took the first step in beginning to address this massive debt by passing legislation that would reduce our deficit by $315 billion over the next 10 years. It was an imperfect bill, but it was a positive step that has cleared the decks and allowed us to focus on cutting trillions of dollars, not just billions. And Chairman Ryan and the members of the Budget Committee have done an excellent job of putting together a budget that's worthy of the American people. This budget will help job creation today, lift the crushing burden of debt that threatens our children's future, and preserve and protect programs like Medicare and Medicaid. And most importantly, the budget shows families and small businesses that we're serious about dealing with America's spending illness so we can put our country on a path to prosperity. The Ryan budget sets the bar for the debate going forward. President Obama had an opportunity to match it. Unfortunately, he gave a partisan speech about the need for more spending, more taxing, and more borrowing. He said he wants to target our debt problem through a so-called debt fail-safe, but exempts the major entitlement programs that account for most of the long-term debt problems. And he proposed yet another commission, though he ignored the recommendations of his last one. And instead of offering serious solutions, the President asked Congress to raise the debt limit without addressing Washington's spending problem. The President wants a clean bill, and the American people will not tolerate it. Now let me be clear. There will be no debt limit increase unless it's accompanied by serious spending cuts and real budget reforms. We delivered this message on Wednesday morning to the President, and we cannot continue to borrow recklessly and dig ourselves a deeper hole and mortgage the future of our children and grandchildren. American people are looking for leadership to address this debt crisis. And unfortunately, the President has failed to put a serious proposal on the table. And if the President won't lead, we will. No more kicking the can down the road. No more whistling past the graveyard. Now is the time to address the serious challenges that face the American people, and we will.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would point out that even if we adopt the Republican budget, we're going to have to lift the debt ceiling for years and years to come. So let's not play Russian roulette with the economy and the full faith and credit of the United States government. Now, on the question of jobs, during the Clinton administration, we asked the very wealthiest for a little bit more sacrifice than they have today, and you know what happened to jobs? 20 million jobs were created during the Clinton administration. Under the current tax rates, after 8 years of George Bush, private sector lost 630,000 jobs. Mr. Chairman, can I inquire how much time I have remaining?
The gentleman has 1.5 minutes remaining.
I yield myself 30 seconds.
Gentleman's recognized for 30 seconds.
So you see the pattern here. During the Clinton administration, economic growth booming, 20 million jobs created. During the 8 years of the Bush administration, net loss 653,000 jobs. We need to continue to invest in this country and make sure that the entrepreneurs of this country can continue to thrive. We need to do this in a balanced way, and I would point out that the folks who said that the Republican plan, this Republican plan we're debating, would increase jobs are the same people who predicted that the Bush tax cuts would create jobs. That's the blue line is the prediction of the Heritage Foundation about what that would happen. The red is the reality. If we want to create jobs and reduce the deficit, we need to do it in a balanced way. That's what the Fiscal Commission said. That's what the Democratic plan does. We urge everyone respectfully to vote no on the Republican plan. It's the wrong choice for America. And with that, I yield a minute to the distinguished Democratic leader, Ms. Pelosi.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding. I thank him for bringing a budget proposal to the floor today that is a statement of our national values about what we care about, investing in our children, honoring our seniors, creating jobs, growing the economy, strengthening the middle class. Thank you, Mr. Van Hollen, for your great leadership in that regard. Mr. Speaker, today we will be taking a vote that is very, very important for the health and security of American seniors. A great deal is at stake. And I'm just going to focus on one part of this Republican budget. I want to say to my Republican colleagues, do you realize that your leadership is asking you to cast a vote today to abolish Medicare as we know it? Because that is the vote that we have. This is not about an issue. This is about a value. This is about an ethic. Medicare is a core value of our social compact with the American people. Yet this budget shreds that contract, which is part of the strength of our country. The Republican proposal breaks the promise that our country has made to our seniors, that after a lifetime of work, they will be able to depend on Medicare to protect them in retirement. This plan, the Republican plan, ends Medicare as we know it and dramatically reduces benefits for seniors. It forces them to pay more, to buy their insurance company from health insurance companies, where the average senior will be forced to pay twice as much for half the benefits. I want to repeat that. The Republican plan forces seniors to buy their insurance from health insurance companies, where the average senior will be forced to pay twice as much for half the benefits, as much as $20,000 per year more for some seniors. This plan has the wrong priorities for our seniors and for all Americans. The Republican budget, just remember these three things, ends Medicare as we know it, as it gives big tax breaks and subsidies, tens of billions of dollars, to big oil. This budget reduces Medicaid for our seniors in nursing homes, sending them away from nursing homes, while it gives tax breaks to companies that send jobs overseas. This budget hurts our children's education. In fact, it increases the cost of higher education for nearly 10 million of our young adults, while it gives tax breaks to America's wealthiest families. That's just not fair. It is just not the American way. Here we are. Yesterday, we observed the 100th day of the Republican majority in Congress. In that 100 days, not one job has been created, not one job agenda is in the works. And what are we doing? We are here to abolish Medicare instead. I've heard our colleagues say that the budget deficit is immoral. It's been immoral for the 8 years of the Bush administration, and I didn't hear anybody say boo while we were giving tax cuts to the rich, having 2 wars unpaid for, and giving a prescription drug bill to the private sector. Democrats are committed to reducing the deficit. We have demonstrated that we can during the Clinton administration, and we will. We are committed to strengthening the middle class, to growing our economy as we reduce the deficit, and to creating jobs. The Republican budget fails to do that, and the Republican budget will not have Democratic support. We are here, as one of the previous speakers says, now is the time. Now is the time to preserve Medicare, and Democrats will, I urge, a no vote on the Republican plan. Thank you.
Gentlelady's time has expired. Gentleman from Wisconsin.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to yield myself the remainder of my time, and I'd like to address the House from the well.
Gentleman is recognized.
First of all, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank our staffs, the Democratic staff and the Republican staff, for all of their hard work in getting us to this moment. I want to ask my colleagues a question. I want to ask the American people a question. You know, I remember one of the worst moments I had in Congress was the financial crisis of 2008. It seems like it was yesterday. We had the Treasury Secretary, we had the Federal Reserve Chairman coming here talking about crisis, talking about bank collapses. And what came out of that was really ugly legislation that we passed on a bipartisan basis that no one enjoyed. That crisis caught us by surprise. It was unpredictable. We didn't see it coming. Let me ask you this. What if your president and your member of Congress saw it coming? What if they knew why it was happening, when it was going to happen, and more importantly, they knew what to do to stop it, and they had time to stop it, but they didn't because of politics? What would you think of that person? Mr. Chairman, that is where we are right now. This is the most predictable economic crisis we've ever had in the history of this country. And yet, we have a president who is unwilling to lead. We have too many politicians worried about the next election and not worried about the next generation. Every politician in this town knows we have a debt crisis. They know that we are in danger. We cannot avoid this choice. To govern is to choose. We are making a choice even if we don't act, and that's the wrong choice. In the words of Abraham Lincoln, we cannot escape history. We of this Congress and this administration will be remembered in spite of ourselves. Will we be remembered as the Congress that did nothing as the nation sped toward a preventable debt crisis and irreversible decline? Or will it instead be remembered as a Congress that did the hard work of preventing that crisis, the one that chose this path to prosperity? This path to prosperity charts a different course. It gets us off this wrong track. It achieves 4 objectives. Number 1, grow the economy and get people back to work. Number 2, fulfill the mission of health and retirement security. We don't want to ration Medicare. We don't want to see Medicare go bankrupt. We want to save Medicare. Number 3, repair the social safety net. Get it ready for the 21st century. We don't want a welfare system that encourages people to stay on welfare. We want them to get back on their feet and into flourishing, self-sufficient lives. So let's reform welfare for people who need it, and let's end it for corporate welfare for people who don't need it. Number 4, let's do the work of lifting this crushing burden of debt from our children. This is what we achieve. We have a choice of two futures, but we have to make the right choice. This nation in decline. We must not be the first generation in this country to leave the next generation worse off. Decline is antithetical to the American idea. America is a nation conceived in liberty, dedicated to equality and defined by limitless opportunity. Equal opportunity, upward mobility, prosperity. This is what America is all about. In all the chapters of human history, there has been never anything quite like America. This budget keeps America exceptional. It preserves its promise for the next generation. Colleagues, this is our defining moment. We must choose this path to prosperity. I yield.
The gentleman's time has expired. All time for debate has expired. The question is on the amendment in the nature of a substitute made in order in its original text. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Under the rule, the committee rises. Speaker, the Committee of the Whole House of the State of the Union has had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 34, and pursuant to House Resolution 223, I report the concurrent resolution back to the House with an amendment adopted in the Committee of the Whole.
Under the rule, the previous question is ordered. The Chair of the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union reports that the committee has had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 34, and pursuant to House Resolution 223, reports the concurrent resolution back to the House with an amendment adopted in the Committee of the Whole. Under the rule, the previous question is ordered. The question is on the amendment in the nature of a substitute. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The question is on agreeing to the concurrent resolution. Under Clause 10 of Rule 20, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote.
The House moves on to adoption of the budget resolution for fiscal year 2012. 15-minute vote on the House floor. This is the start of the appropriations process, the budget, a non-binding blueprint for taxes and spending in the next fiscal year, which begins on October 1st. The proposed Republican budget would spend $3.5 trillion on revenue of $2.5 trillion. It would cut non-security discretionary spending $360 billion in the next fiscal year. That's 105 less than the President's proposal for 2012. 15-minute vote and final passage, adoption of the budget resolution.
On this vote, the yeas are 235 and the nays are 100.